Money. You can't live without it. How could you make it through a week? Or how far could you make it through a week if you had no money? I know the idea of having no money is fine, but how far could you make it through a week? Your food, your clothing, your transport, your accommodation, your communication, they all require money. Our world, the way it's set up, people are more than happy to provide a product or a service, but it comes at a cost generally. And then the transaction that happens, the mechanism we use to acquire that service is money. Therefore, it's really good to have an understanding and talk about money. It's a topic that some people would prefer to avoid, and it generally provokes a range of emotions in people as we talk about it, but it's a good topic to talk about. I've learned in my journey that the ones that hate to talk about money normally have a problem with it. On the other hand, the ones that talk about money too much often have a problem with it too, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we need to understand our money and how to manage it. I've discovered in my lifetime to date that I have a choice. Either I control my money or it controls me. I don't want to be controlled by my money. I want to control it, how I spend it, how I use it, and what its purpose is, and I hope you do too. It's a subject that we need to talk about, and many Christians are not experiencing financial freedom like they could be, like they should be, like they hope to be. Yet I think God's interested in our finances, as he is with every other area of our lives. In fact, I think he's so interested that he gave us instruction around finance. Can you imagine trying to put diesel or petrol into an electric car? Well, if you could find a place to put it for a start, it's not going to run, is it? Because it's not designed to run on it. It would be like putting salt in coffee and expecting it to be sweet, or getting a nice roast and putting it in the fridge and expecting it to cook. It's just not going to happen, because there are ways and means to do those things. And what I just described are not the ways nor the means to get the result that you're looking for. Every area of life is the same. There's things that we do a certain way to get a desired outcome, and finances are no different. Our God has designed things to work a certain way. He's designer, he's creator. He created the planet and everything on the planet, and he's designed things to work a certain way. I've noticed that we breathe air and not water. That was his choice. That was his design. He made it like that for his good purpose and for his reason. But if we try to change those rules, you're not going to go too far. Breathing water simply does not work. So we live in accordance with his patterns, his rules, if we want to flourish. You put petrol in a petrol car, it'll go really well. It makes perfect sense that to flourish in financial freedom, we do things the way that he's told us to do them. And we're going to look at that and some of these patterns in the next few episodes of this series. You can be a believer and you can do your finances any way you want to do them. There's no problem with that. But my personal conviction is you cannot be a dedicated disciple of Christ and ignore God's financial patterns that he's shown to us. In this series, we're going to look at God's patterns. We're going to look at some misunderstandings and some practical keys to connecting with heaven's economy. I want to tell you, well, actually, no, I won't tell you. I won't tell you what to do. I'm going to give you some signposts. I'm going to steer you in some general directions. And if you don't like it, that's absolutely fine. Just use it as a signpost, as food to think about. I'm also more than likely to say a few things that may provoke you, may even upset you. Again, don't get upset, don't get offended at me. Just use them as a signpost or as thinking material to come to some conviction of what you do believe and the way that you do want to operate. My motives for the series are very clear to me, and that is that many believers who are expecting God's blessing, expecting things to happen a certain way, just aren't practicing God's patterns. Therefore, their expectations often end up futile and they end up disappointed. I want to talk to some of those things. So I pray that these next few segments will be really helpful for you. Something to ponder as I go. Ask yourself the question, am I operating my finances in line with God's patterns?